Welcome back, YouTube, and this is JAC Antics, and today I wanted to try something new and review some retro tech. And today we're reviewing the original Xbox. Now, let's get to the video. Now, the original Xbox was released back in November 15th of 2001 in North America and the other respective regions in 2002. Upon the release of the Xbox, it had competition between the PlayStation 2 and the Nintendo GameCube. And knowing that those two powerhouses was the competition, it was pretty steep and pretty bold for Microsoft to take that plunge when they did. Looking back on it now, you're just like, oh, of course that's the great move. But a lot has changed. Do you know what else has changed? The technology. So starting with the specs of the original Xbox, its CPU was an Intel Pentium 3 copper core that clocked at 733 megahertz. The GPU was a NVIDIA NV2A, but they called it an X GPU, which was essentially in between a NVIDIA GeForce 3 and an NVIDIA GeForce 4. Lastly, its RAM was a 64 megabyte DDR RAM that clocked in at 200 megahertz. It was about 8 to 10 gigabytes. Xbox took a page out of Sega Dreamcast's book, which was to implement internet capability into its system. It had Xbox Live. Now, many of the servers for original Xbox Live has been discontinued, but you can also still connect your system online via System Link and play games up to the Xbox, the modern era. That's pretty cool for a system that is 22 years old to be able to do that. It was ahead of its time, even though it took some pages out of the Sega Dreamcast. And that little attention to detail didn't just fall suit onto the console itself, it also falled into the controllers. We all know the famous controller, the Duke Nukem controller. This big back controller that a lot of people didn't like at first. Then they eventually made a smaller one, so it's better. Honestly, they still kind of have the same design today, similar design. It didn't change that much. Going from this big old controller to this is definitely the better controller. It's funny how they thought that that controller was going to be the one. They was like, oh man, design it. It was still cool. It had a detachable plug, which was easily lost. I remember plenty of nights of gaming, playing Fusion Frenzy, looking for the plug to my controller. it was good for what it was. I'm glad that they switched to a smaller controller. It also took inspiration from the Sega Dreamcast, not only with the internet aspect, the memory card system where they had slots in the controller to plug in your memory card. It didn't have the capability like a Sega Dreamcast where you can see it had the little visual model and all that stuff, but it was still cool that they implemented that into their system. Now, the top 3 games for me for Xbox, when I think of Xbox, is Halo 2, Jet Set Radio, and Fable. For honorable mention, I'll mention NBA Inside Drive 2002. If you know, you know. The system has been 22 years. Of course, it's had problems. Some people ran into problems like their CD drive is not working. That can be solved with either replacing it or cleaning the little lens. That's the only problem that me personally that I've ran into. Other than that, it holds up perfectly after 22 years. I would still say this is a good console. Well, it was a great console. It was one of those things that it was a leap of faith, and it just like always stuck. With all that, I will have to say this: it was a great system for its time. A lot of risk that eventually paid out for the end. Hopefully, they'll dig back into their bag and release some more basketball games like NBA 2K Drive. But with all that, remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you like the review and you want me to do more reviews of original consoles and retro gaming consoles, please put a comment on which system should I review next. With all that, I'm JAC Antics. Peace.